Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for our opening prayer. Joel Abelove will lead us in prayer.
Almighty God, you who are the source of our life, strength, and purpose, in your presence alone we find help, hope, and life. Guide us during this hour of fellowship and reflection to be grounded with a healing reminder of your love to all whose lives we touch this day. For it is in your glory we gather and offer our prayers. Amen.
Amen. Please be seated. Good morning. I'm Peter K. Goebel. I'm the director of the Rensselaer County Veterans Service Agency. We've gathered here this morning to honor two deceased Rensselaer County veterans for the month of August. And those veterans are Patrick K. and Maurice J. Russell. We are honored to have with us this morning their family. Patrick K. Russell, Jr., son and brother. Janice Russell, daughter-in-law and sister-in-law. John Russell, son and brother. Judy Russell, daughter-in-law and sister-in-law. Mary Ann Lancaster, daughter and sister. James Lancaster, son-in-law and brother-in-law. Jennifer Moyles, granddaughter and niece. Matthew Moyles, grandson-in-law and nephew-in-law. Patrick K. Russell III, grandson and nephew. Deanna Russell, granddaughter-in-law. Mason Moyles, great-grandson and great-nephew. Anderson Moyles, great-granddaughter and great-niece. Patrick K. Russell IV, great-grandson and great-nephew. Grace Russell, great-granddaughter and great-niece. Mary Russell, great-granddaughter and great-niece. Helena Brown, niece and cousin. And John Creech, nephew and cousin. Good morning. Thank you for being here. Also with us today to honor our Veteran of the Month, our Congressman Paul Tonko, representing Congressman John Faso, George Christian, New York State Assemblyman Steve McLaughlin, our Rensselaer County Executive Kathy Jimeno, Rensselaer County Legislative Chairman Stan Brownell, Rensselaer County Legislative Vice Chairman Alex Shannon, Rensselaer County Legislative Deputy Minority Leader Ed Manny, Chairman of the Legislative Veterans Committee Tom Walsh, Rensselaer County District Attorney Joel Abelove, representing Colonel Joseph Morrow and the Watervliet Arsenal, Mr. John Schneider, representing Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, Mr. Charles Carletta, and legislators Mark Fleming, Robert Loveridge, and Gary Pavlik. As we are all well aware, Memorial Day and Veterans Day are special days to remember all of our veterans. This program was instituted to help us honor our veterans all year round. To us here in Rensselaer County, every day is Veterans Day. The Rensselaer County Honor a Deceased Veteran Program represents veterans organizations throughout the entire county. This includes members of the American Legion, Disabled American Veterans, Veterans of Lansingburg, Military Order of the Purple Heart, Marine Corps League, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Korean War Veterans, Tri-County Council of Vietnam-era Veterans, Heroes at Home, Combat Veterans of America. I will now ask Stan Brownell, Rensselaer County Legislative Chairman, to come forward to tell us about our honored veterans for the month of August, Patrick K. and Maurice J. Russell.
Good morning. And welcome to the chambers of the Rensselaer County Legislature. As it was said, my name is Stan Brownell, and it is my honor to serve as the chairman of the Rensselaer County Legislature. Today we are gathered to honor two deceased veterans who also happen to be a father and son. It's Patrick and Maurice Russell. Patrick Russell was born on April 19th, 1906 in Labashida, County Clare, Ireland, to parents Patrick and Ellen. He had 4 sisters, Helen, Nancy, May, and Margaret, 2 brothers, David and John. Patrick attended elementary school in Ireland. Patrick immigrated to the United States on March 30th, 1928. Like so many of his generation, left his adopted home in the United States, in this case, Troy, New York, to join the military and serve during World War II. Patrick enlisted in the United States Army on January 15th, 1942, and during the course of his service was awarded the European, African, Middle Eastern Theater Campaign Ribbon and the Good Conduct Medal. Patrick was honorably discharged from the Army on October 5th, 1945. Returning home, Patrick married Anne Fitzgerald Russell on June 10th, 1946 in Troy. They had 4 children, Patrick, Mary, Anne, John, and the late Maurice. He is also survived by 9 grandchildren and 12 great-grandchildren. Peter was employed by the Vander Heyden School here in Rensselaer County, where he served as chief, and the Ten Eyck Hotel in Albany. Peter loved the garden, was an avid Yankee fan, and was a member of the Ancient Order Hibernians in Troy and Watervliet. We are also here today to honor Maurice Russell. Maurice was born in Troy, New York on May 26, 1949, to the parents Patrick and Anne Fitzgerald Russell. As you might expect, he being the son of Patrick, who attended elementary school in native Ireland, Maurice attended St. Patrick's Elementary School in Troy and Lansingburg High School. Maurice enlisted in the United States Army on November 29, 1966, and was decorated for his service with Headquarters Company, 11th Field Force, Vietnam Artillery. Maurice was awarded the National Defense Medal, the Vietnam Campaign Medal with 60 device clusters, the Vietnam Service Medal, 2 overseas bars, Sharpshooter Rifle M14, and Meritorious Unit Citation. Maurice was honorably discharged on December 8, 1969. Maurice was employed by the Ford Motor Company in Green Island, was a community of St. Patrick's Church in Troy, and in 1963 was named Boy of the Year at the YMCA. He enjoyed playing baseball and riding motorcycles. Maurice is survived by 2 brothers, Patrick and John, and a sister, Mary Ann. Rensselaer County has always vowed never to forget its military family members, whether it's Veterans Day or Memorial Day, so it's our great honor to recognize this father and son, Patrick and Maurice.
I will now ask Congressman Paul Tonko to come forward.
Thank you, Peter, and good morning, everyone. Always an honor to join with Kathy Jimeno and all of the County Ledge to pay tribute to our veterans who have made such a mark on the history of this country in their efforts to preserve and protect our freedoms and to, in a sense, advance them, to promote them to freedom-loving people around the world. And this morning, it's a unique honor to recognize a father and son team that obviously believed greatly in this nation. It's interesting, too, to note with such a wonderfully large family here present that the Irish roots are deep and strong, and that, you know, as someone who entered these gates in America, went to defend the American freedoms and liberties. What a great statement that is in and of itself. And with the richness of that Irish heritage and belief in this nation, stands as an example of the mosaic that we are to the world. People who call these United States their new home. And so as both joined the Army and did service, respectively through the World War II vintage and through the Vietnam conflict, we recognize that both of them had earned and received much recognition, decorations for their service to this great country. And recognizing that as a father and son team, they showed an undeniable sense of patriotism and a love for having been able to serve their country in a way that was powerful. We respect and salute this morning their valor, their courage, their desire to don the uniform and speak to a nation that was perhaps at risk and went to defend this nation in very powerful format. And so with that greatest generation of World War II, they stood as heroes that found America building in great ways, building community, housing that was developing in a very strong fashion after that Second World War. And undeniably, there was that effort made by both Patrick and Maurice to live the American dream in a very vibrant way. But for service in the son of the father and son team in the Vietnam conflict, it wasn't always a hero's welcome. We failed miserably to recognize their contribution to us as a nation. And hopefully we have learned great lessons from that. But to the team, to the Patrick K. and Maurice G. Russell team, we say thank you for your service to this nation in two different vintages of war that carried forth with the desire to, again, defend and protect our freedoms in a very courageous format. And this morning, it's my honor to join with my friend and colleague, Congressman John Faso, in having asked that flags be flown over our nation's capital to pay tribute to this father and son team and to recognize them as individuals of greatness who have enabled us to assemble here this morning, to be able to speak freely, and to embrace those various opportunities that we have. I would state that their best way to honor this father-son Russell team is to embrace those freedoms for which they fought and to assume them with great responsibility, to build a nation, build a community, rather than divide, to choose our words carefully with the freedom of speech so as not to hurt, and to be able to empower others through these various freedoms. So it is great for us to take a moment in our very busy lives to say thank you, a humble thank you to this father and son team. May they both rest in peace.
I will now ask George Christian, representing Congressman John Faso, to come forward.
Good morning, everyone. It's my honor to be here today to represent the 19th Congressional District and Congressman John Faso, who couldn't be here himself, to recognize the service of Patrick K. and Maurice J. Russell. So on behalf of the citizens of the 19th Congressional District in this nation, we're here to exemplify the service that both the father and son team that fought in different periods of time gave to our country. And we also have to recognize their contributions to their community, because both of them served in this community and did things that we will all remember. I personally didn't grow up here, and I never got to meet them, but I know that from what I've read and heard from the congressman as well as others, they served their nation well. And for that, the flags will be flown in honor of them over the poles outside of our building here. I have also a letter from the congressman, which I'd like to present to the family. And again, thank you for the opportunity to represent the 19th Congressional District here.
I will now ask our Rensselaer County Executive, Kathy Jimeno, to come forward.
Thank you, Peter. Good morning. It's first and foremost, I want to say how nice it is to see such a big family gathering here today. Obviously, with your brother's service and your father's service, this country meant a lot and still does to your family. I even noticed little Mason saying the Pledge of Allegiance at 4 years old. That's pretty good. But it's a wonderful story to hear, first of all, of your father coming over from Ireland, and then in his adopted country, stepping up when his country needed him. What was interesting to note, though, is that Patrick joined the service when he was about 36, and your brother Maurice at 17. Obviously he shared his love of country with all of you, but Maurice heard that call at 17 to step up and go. Both obviously served their country very well, came back as decorated heroes of that service. Your dad continued to contribute to the community. At Vanderheiden School, I'm sure he made a tremendous difference in the lives of some troubled young people that had gone to school there. So he contributed to their success as well as to your success as well as to the community's success. And I think about your brother coming home and just 8 months later being taken from you. And I think that exemplifies to me what a sacrifice it is when our men and women are called to service. Even when they come back home safe and sound, there's a gap, if you will, in their relationship with family because they are away from home, because they are out of the country, because they are in harm's way. And so that loss at such a young age becomes all the more poignant, knowing that for the 3 years before that, he hadn't been there with you and hadn't been able to share so many of the things. So we know what a sacrifice it was for you as well, their service and then the loss of your brother. I want to thank you for both their service today. I want to thank you for your continued commitment and dedication to this country and all that you do. And on behalf of all the residents of Rensselaer County, I'd like to present you with a proclamation honoring Patrick K. Russell and Maurice J. Russell. And again, our thanks for sharing them with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
I will now ask Rensselaer County Legislative Veterans Chairman Tom Walsh Sr. and the assembled county legislators to come forward.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's always a pleasure to come up here and do this ceremony, especially when I have a family out in front of me here this large. It reminds me of my family. I have a large family too, and you know what? We're Irish too. It's even a greater pleasure here to honor Patrick and Maurice, a father and son team. I don't think I've came to this legislative ceremony and since I've been here and honored a father and son. So I've brothers and sisters and stuff like that we've honored before, but never a father and son. And so it was really an extra pleasure for me today to do that. And Alex, where are you? They're Army guys.
Good for them.
He's Navy. We have outside the hall out here, the big, large hallway out here, we have what we call our Hall of Heroes. And Patrick and Maurice will be honored there. They'll be on a plaque with all the veterans honored this year. And it will be presented probably sometime in April. And it will have to be on with everyone that was honored this year. So there'll be probably 10 to 12 names on that. And so it's really a pleasure having a father and a son on that. Last month we honored 2 brothers. And in the near future, I have one that's got 3 brothers, and then I have one that's got 4 brothers and a sister that we'll be honoring here. So we do remember our veterans, and we want to keep remembering them here. We really appreciate what they did for our country. So I have here a proclamation honoring Patrick and Maurice, signed from the legislature, signed by our chairman, Stan Brownell. And I'd like to present that at this time.
I will now ask New York State Assemblyman Steve McLaughlin and New York State Assemblyman John McDonald III to come forward.
Well, thank you, Peter, and good morning, everybody. And to Stan in the legislature, to Kathy, County Executive, thank you for continuing this critical and important tradition here we have in Rensselaer County to honor our deceased veterans. And to the Russell family, it's a pleasure on behalf of myself and my colleague, Steve McLaughlin. You got 2 Irish legislators, 2 for 1 here. Don't worry, we both won't talk. We rotate each month, so you'll be out before 10. It's our pleasure to be here, but most importantly, to thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to learn about the lives and the impact that these 2 individuals had not only on your family, but also in regards to our country. Far too often, we forget the work, the sacrifice, the troubles that our veterans go through, and how difficult it is to just pick up and leave our country, leave your family behind, go back and serve our country, both which served our country at very troubling times in our nation's history. The fact that they came back, made a life for themselves, made an impact on our communities, means an awful lot. And it's important that we continue to retell those stories. So on behalf of myself and Steve, we both have citations from the New York State Assembly remembering both Patrick and Maurice. Thank you.
Ray Seastack from the Rensselaer County Honor Deceased Veteran Committee will present the committee plaques at this time. Will the committee members please stand?
On behalf of the Honor Deceased Veteran Committee, the citizens of Rensselaer County, and the Veterans here assembled, please accept these plaques as a token of our appreciation for the veterans
Please stand for the closing prayer.
Day is done, on the sun, from the lake and hill in the sky. All is well. God of compassion, dignity, and strength, watch over these veterans and their families. Bless them and grant their family comfort and everlasting peace. Amen.
Amen. Retire the colors.
Free color. Two. Right face. Forward knock.
This concludes our Honor of Vet ceremony for this month. Thank you for coming to honor our deceased veterans for the month of August, Patrick K. and Maurice J. Russell. Please join us for our next Honor of Veterans ceremony scheduled for September 11th. Before we go our separate ways, we will take a few family photos, then we will reassemble shortly at our county flagpole to raise the flag in Patrick's and Maurice's memory. Thank you again.